The hockey world got exactly what they wanted. The two best, and they went to overtime. Ends in heartbreak for Canadians, Pierre, Kyle, and Dan. And Pierre, you could not have drawn this game up better for entertainment value.
It was full throttle all the way. The first two shifts for the Americans were unbelievable. The Matt Boldy goal was huge. And then you could see the Canadians started to push back, and it's Connor Hellebuyck, who played for the Winnipeg Jets, even though he's from Alpena, Michigan. He played fantastically well. I believe Canada wins this game if Hellebuyck doesn't play the way he does. But this was a fantastic hockey game. Anybody that wore a sweater for either team, any coach that was standing on either bench should be so proud of the way the players, the coaches, the trainers, everybody reacted. This was spectacular theater. It really was. I'm sorry that somebody had to lose. I mean that sincerely.
Yeah, Pierre, without a doubt, it's one of the best international hockey games ever played, given the stakes, given the moment. As you say with Hellebuck, like he was the difference maker in a game that, the stats call him very, very much favors Canada, but at the end of the day, they're sharing the same ice surface, and he made some unbelievable saves in key moments to keep Canada off the board.
Just at the end in the third period where Canada has a power play and you look at the opportunities for McDavid, you look at the opportunities for Nathan McKinnon, and then the huge robbery on Celebrini. Let's also remember, too, he stops McDavid on a breakaway and he stops Celebrini on a breakaway, and he makes it look easy. This guy was in another zone today, and he deserves full credit because after the 5-on-3 that Canada didn't score on, Canada dominated this game. They dominated the game. And if it's not for Connor Hellebuyck, we don't even have overtime. This thing's over and Canada's got a gold medal. He should be extremely thrilled, and so should the fans in Winnipeg.
This game's going to be dissected for a long time. Probably the biggest one being why too many men wasn't called when it was directly in front of the American bench. You didn't have to search for all the players on the ice. They were all right there.
I make notes during the game on all the different things that happened. And one of the things I said is, I cannot believe there wasn't too many men on the ice call. And I write yikes right next to the end of my notes. I still don't understand what that was, how that could not have been called. We've seen calls for too many men on the ice way more or way less graphic than that one was. So I don't know, Dan. I really don't know.
In moments like that, they're obviously very frustrating, but in the plays they can control, Canada failing to score on a 5-on-3 that they had for almost 100 seconds, that's going to be talked about a lot as well, too, because these are the greatest. This is probably the greatest offensive group ever assembled, and they couldn't get it done in that circumstance.
You know what? It's a great point by you, Kyle. So here's what I'll say. They didn't win a lot of initial draws. The Americans were able to clear the puck when they had the opportunity to do. Very tough to do in a 5-on-3. Jake Sanderson of the Ottawa Senators was fantastic. Dylan Larkin of the Detroit Red Wings was off the charts good. Brock Nelson of the Colorado Avalanche played out of his mind out of War Road, Minnesota. There were certain guys for the Americans during that 5-on-3 that elevated to a level where they had been most of the tournament. And let's remember, the American penalty killing going into this game was a perfect score. They had not given up one power play goal the entire tournament. So I want to, even though people are going to be mad at Canada, I'll give some credit where credit's due. And when they had opportunities, Connor Hellebuyck again was really good, Kyle. And Dan, I can't say enough. Canada should be proud, but this Connor Hellebuyck was at another level. He really was. I haven't seen him ever play that well.
Opponents of the Edmonton Oilers will be watching tape of the Americans and how they defended Connor McDavid, because they did something, Pierre, that most teams can't do, and that is right when he's got his head of steam, they took away a step from him. They had a game plan. Can you dissect what they did against McDavid where he couldn't make that end-to-end rush?
They matched quick. They took away time and space quick, and they try to have 5 guys to defend one. So I'll give you an example. It usually was Brock Faber. It usually was Jacob Slavin. It usually was JT Miller. It usually was Vinny Trocheck, and it usually was Brock Nelson. If one of those 3 forwards wasn't on the ice, everybody knew, get up and take away his space. If you look at just before Jack Hughes scores the game-winning goal in overtime, he has to defend against Connor McDavid one-on-one with McDavid off the rush with a full head of steam. And I'm sitting here in my home office going, there's no way Jack can defend that. but he does because rather than shoot the puck, McDavid tries to beat him to the net. Jack just keeps backing off. Connor never shoots the puck. Turnover happens, back the other way. And the hero of that play is going to be Jack Hughes. But the real hero of that play was a defenseman, Zach Werenski, who makes an amazing play up north in the other end against Nathan McKinnon to get that puck to Jack Hughes. But if it's called fronting, to get to your original premise. And the Americans did a great job fronting on a really elite player in Connor McDavid.
Speaking of great jobs, Pierre, one of the big question marks for Canada coming into this tournament was, of course, in net. But Jordan Binnington was outstanding tonight when he needed to be.
Jordan was great. And, you know, if anybody starts ripping on him for the Hughes goal, give me a break. The Boldy move is phenomenal. That's all world. Look at some of the big saves he made at different times, especially when there was the double minor to Sam Bennett. I think the Americans had 3 shots on goal on that double minor, but a couple of them were really high percentage scoring opportunities. I thought Binnington, they don't get to a gold medal game if Binnington's not huge against Czechia and if Binnington's not huge against Finland. So he gets him there. He gets him to overtime in a gold medal game. It can go any way, especially 3-on-3. I thought Binnington and Hellebuyck were phenomenal for both teams.
There would be a Sidney Crosby effect, whether he played or didn't in this game. Sidney Crosby did not play. What was that effect on the outcome of this game?
I love the question, and I will tell you as honestly as I can, it was massive. I don't want to disparage any of the players that wore a Canadian sweater today. None of the guys that try to take Sidney Crosby's place is Sidney Crosby, and they never will be. That's not a knock on them. They're all amazingly good players. To make this Canadian team is an amazing pat on the back and an athletic accomplishment. None of them are Sidney Crosby. None of them have done what Sidney Crosby's ever done internationally or in the NHL. And that's why they miss Sidney Crosby. And I really believe if he had played, Canada would not have lost this game.
They almost needed that Sidney Crosby zen because the game was moving at such a pace. He almost brings that level of calm to that team, to that bench.
I love it. Absolutely. Here, I was there in 10. I was there in 14. I had the best seat in the house for both gold medal games in 10 and 14. Sid was crazy good. And he was that guy that brought, you know, Dan, in Vancouver, the temperature was hot. It was high. He just brought it all down. The American bench couldn't bring it down. The Canadian bench could, and it was because of Sid. They didn't have to worry about it too much in 14 in Sochi. They had just an array of players that had been through the process before. Outside of Drew Doughty, the only other guy that had played in the Olympics in a best-on-best was Sidney Crosby. And this was his 3rd Olympics. So to Dan's point, Kyle, Sid not being there was pretty substantial.
And we're talking about a list of intangible things that only someone of his caliber and his experience can bring. Is that in the end what this team was missing that separated them from gold? Because there was question marks, and there will always be question marks about who is included, who is discluded. But ultimately, they played their last 3 games very tight and lost the last one. And is that what this team was missing? Is it an intangible thing, or is there something about the construction of this team that needs to change in international hockey going forward? And I know it's early on. The game, they just got off the ice, but
no, but that's why we're doing the show, because we want to be emotional. We want to react in the moment. I think it's such a fair question. So here's how I would try to answer it. Hockey Canada does amazing debriefs after every international event. So the debrief, I think, will go like this a little bit. Did we have enough pure offense? They're probably going to say, no, we may be miscalculating on that. Do we have enough center icemen? We did. We just couldn't account for losing Sidney Crosby. So now going forward, we're probably not going to have Sidney Crosby. Who's going to be that next guy for us? Who's going to be the standard bearer that's going to be, to Dan's point, the guy that can control the tempo and the energy on the bench? They're going to have to find that guy. I would imagine that's going to be part of their debrief, though. The Crosby factor is huge in this, though. I will tell you, Dan and Kyle, again, having witnessed it firsthand, they missed that. They missed him a lot today.
John Cooper's comments, head coach of Team Canada, those will be ones to listen to because I see him as a guiding voice, the calm friend who has wisdom. And I assume that he will say, this is what we all came to see. Yes, the outcome wasn't what we wanted, but could you get a better hockey game than that? He will sum it up and put a positive spin on it 100%.
As he should. And I thought our good friend Kyle raised it to me. He was texting me during the game and he said, "This is as good a game as I've ever seen, probably the best." And I said, "Yeah, yeah, I couldn't argue." How you can argue that? We don't see pace like that. We don't see guys committing like that. We don't see goaltending like that from both guys at that level. I just was blown away. John Cooper has every right to be proud, just like the rest of his staff does. Pete DeBoer, Bruce Cassidy, Rick Tocchet, they all deserve to be really proud of what their team did. They ran out of gas at the end. I mean, it's a great play made by a first overall pick in Jack Hughes. And if I could give one shout out, I was really emotional watching that. I'm a Canadian guy and I'm proud of the guys that are playing there. I know them all. Ray Shero passed away last May. Ray Shero drafted Jack Hughes first overall. And I'm telling you guys right now, he's my best friend. He was my agent. He used to tell me all the time, this kid's going to have to endure a lot of slings and arrows. They're going to come after him. The people are going to come after him because he's small. He takes risks. He's kind of flies by the seat of his pants. But Pierre, I'm telling you, this guy's going to be a great player. He's going to make big time plays. Réjean, you were right. You were right.
Pierre, I'm like yourself. I'm obviously very disappointed in the outcome of the game, as is Dan. And we're allowed to be do a little bit of the homerism thing after your nation loses. But taking a 10,000-foot view of this Olympic men's hockey tournament, this has to be great for the game of hockey because the level was so high, international exposure was so high, and coming off the four nations, coming off the great run through the playoffs last year, hockey is absolutely peaking right now, is it not?
Not just for the men, for the women too. To
Yeah.
your point, like this is such an exciting time to be in hockey. I remember after 2010 and how excited we all were. Then we had a Stanley Cup final in Philadelphia and Chicago, and everybody was going, cuckoo for hockey, and it showed in the NBC ratings. And I think we're going to get back to that. We've lost a little bit in the last 3 or 4 years, but I think it's going to come back, and it's really exciting. So no, I think this is great for the sport. I'm really looking forward to see the battle for the playoffs in the National Hockey League. Obviously, Toronto, one of those teams, Ottawa, Montreal on the Canadian side of things. But no, this was phenomenal. This whole Olympic experience was great for hockey. And Dan, I can say this to you. I've already talked to Kyle about it. After 2014, I'll never forget being in Sochi and being told by a high-ranking member of the National Hockey League, "That's it. We're done with the Olympics." And I was so freaking angry. Like, it's the first time I've ever really gotten mad at a guy in the NHL. And I gave him a whole lot of you-know-what. And he said, "Pierre, just mind your manners." I said, no. You guys are really wrong on this. You'll see. We didn't go back in 18. We didn't go back in 22. 22 I get because of COVID. We didn't go back in either. And somebody woke them up. Somebody woke them up. This was the best advertisement the NHL could have ever had, this tournament.
I remember the day after the Olympics. So Putin staged an invasion.
Yeah, Crimea.
to Crimea the day after.
He did.
Does the NHL look at this and say, "Hey, let's do this overtime. Let's do it this way"?
You're talking about 3-on-3 or in the playoffs
For 20
as well?
minutes. It's never gonna. It's
No,
gonna
it
be
would
one
never
every
end.
time.
No, but you see the difference between 3-on-3 and 5-on-5. So can we make a compromise?
4 on
Let's
4.
go 4-on-4.
Please.
Is that a good compromise to start?
Just go 20 minutes, 3-on-3. We'll never see another shootout.
No, I don't
There's
want
no way NHL players are going to play a 20-minute 3-on-3. It won't last that long. There's no
No,
chance.
it won't ever. Not 3-on-3. It won't. What was the time frame on this one? I don't even know what
It was
took.
2-3
Yeah,
minutes.
so we did it before 4 minutes even. So yeah.
By the way, if we're handing out flowers, you know who I was really happy to hear on this broadcast in Canada was Mike Johnson. This guy has put in the work, and it's just a fresh voice between the benches. You can hear him reacting to plays. You can hear him like shouting sometimes. I think he's just a great voice to have in the game of hockey.
Good for you for acknowledging that. It's much needed. So good for you for acknowledging that. It's a very important position during a broadcast. We were the first ones to do it at TSN.
Mark Milliere.
He was. We were the first ones to do it. And it's been a much, let's say, overlooked position for a long period of time. And now I think people will realize the value of that position.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, gentlemen, I've got a high calorie day of drowning my sorrows in food and tears. But hey, again, the theater of hockey came through in a big, big way today, and it didn't go our way, but It's good for the game. I got nothing, guys. I'm sad.
I'm just thrilled to be able to do this with you people. I'm so grateful, everybody at Toronto Sports Rush, producer Tim and the entire team. You know, this has been a great Olympics. You guys have made this so much fun for me. This is the 8th Olympics I've had the honor and privilege of covering, and I couldn't be more proud than to do it with you two gentlemen. I'm really, really grateful for that.
And
Really
now we
grateful.
can get back to our laser focus on the Toronto Blue Jays in spring training. Let's go, baby. Thanks, Pierre. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Pierre.